What's good, y'all? Today is day 10, and I am happy to be here with you. I didn't do this one at nighttime, it's just the daytime, so hopefully I got a little more energy for you. Don't plan on being with you long. Just want to talk real quick about one word for the day, and it is submission. And that's a trigger word for some people, right? Like, some people don't like to talk about submission, usually because we've been encouraged to do it in ways that don't honor us, or to things and entities that don't honor us. But it's a word that's really important, right? Obedience, submission, um, the act of um, giving no resistance to the things that pull us. And in this case, I'm talking about internally. There are things that pull us in our spirit to do, to move, to behave, to respond, to act in certain ways that we wouldn't necessarily choose ourselves. Okay? And I say this because we all know our response mechanism, right? Our ego has its own way of being. Ego has its own way of being. It has things that it likes, it doesn't like, proclivities. It has a will of itself. The ego has a will of itself, depending on what our experiences have been and how we've had to learn how to cope and shape and deal with those things. And then our spirit does too. And so when our spirit calls us, until we are in complete alignment with it, a lot of times the things it will tell us to do are not the things that we would choose to do for ourselves. And when we feel those moves, those calls in us, these inclinations, it's really important to listen to them, because a lot of times those are the ones that really can save us or lead us into the things that, man, we've asked for, or we couldn't imagine, or that we need and don't know, or all of these things that help us on our path, right? But just because it presents itself to us does not mean that we always are open to it. Okay? A lot of times our spirit will say stuff to us, and because it ain't what we want to do at that moment, we ain't got time to hear that shit. We ain't got time to hear that shit. I talked a few days ago about my wreck. My spirit told me to sit the fuck down. And I was like, hey, I ain't got time for that shit right now. I'm trying to make some shit happen. My spirit said, all right, bitch, you ain't want to listen today. Let me tell you something. You're going to listen one way or another. You don't have to submit to me in order for me to get your attention, but you're going to hear me. There's got to be space for us both in that body of yours. And yeah, that's a real thing. And so at all times, our spirit is beckoning, is calling, is moving us to do things. And it's up to us whether or not we are going to listen to it, whether or not it's in alignment with what our plans were for that day or that time or whatever else we was working on is another matter. Like, we got to work through that. That sounds like a us problem. That's shit that we got to figure out. But when we get those calls, man, submission leads us into beautiful places. And I say that because a lot of times we feel like we are the best knowers and the best planners. The Quran talks about how man plans, but Allah is the best planner of them all. I'm also not Muslim, by the way. I just believe in the value of what the Spirit gives through a variety of texts. But that meant something to me, because we do plan a lot and we feel like we are the best planners and we know all things, but there is another level of knowledge that exists in the Spirit that we can't always consider in our humanity. And those who can, man, there are some who have been able to. Shout out to Dr. James Rush, who was one of the first teachers that I had that showed me the evidence of what an elevated spirit looked like in the earthly plane. And he had one. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to talk about like gurus and like people who walk they talk on a whole nother level. Like, bro didn't let nothing get to him. Nothing. Like, he kept a level tone, a level everything. There were so many ways that he modeled how to protect your energy and how to maintain your peace, that, I find myself in awe, even thinking about his memory, because there was a witness there. There was an example that I was able to see and glean from. And had I been at a different space when I met him, I would have gleaned so much more. But he talked about how it was important to incline the wheel, right? So to practice certain things until it becomes a part of normalcy in terms of how we move and how we govern ourselves and the things that we do and we concern ourselves with, all the way down to our tone of voice, right? Like, it's okay to be passionate. It's okay to, but how you express that, makes a difference. Not only for you, for the receiver. All these different things, that I think I was led to in the spirit that my ego at the time was just not hearing, And then there's this other part where you got to know yourself well enough to know, who you are and who you're not. Like, there are some things that you come here with that are yours innately. They're part of your being, your beingness. You know what I'm saying? Gifted to you to help you with whatever it is you came here to accomplish. And that's different for different people. And so also being aware of who you are so that as you encounter these other types of beings, other types of knowledge, other types of enlightenment, you are not, what's the word I want to use? You're not dealing with yourself in a projectile function. Right? Like, what's yours and what's not. What's being projected. What you may be moving towards or may need to grow towards. And what is yours already, And that's important too. Because when we're not aware of those things, sometimes other people can give us things that we will then take on as ours that were never ours to take. But as I talk about these calls on the spirit, these things that we have in our hearts and our souls that pull us, that sometimes we don't even understand, but we just know that it's happening. Pay attention to them. And the one thing I can say is, as I have sat with myself over these last 10 days, not only have those calls become clearer to me, but the way I'm called to engage with them is becoming clearer as well. And so I give thanks for that, because this has also been a season of people asking for a lot of things. Can you help me with this? Can you do that? Can you this? Can you that? Can you this? Can you that? I'm like, Spirit, I need to know what direction I need to go in. And I ask my spirit, because when I begin to behave, whatever I choose to do is what I choose to submit to. So if I don't take the time to consult my spirit, to ask the question to begin with about directionality and purpose and function and will, what are you calling me to do in this season? Because I know what I feel called to do. You know what I'm saying? And I believe that we can do these things together. We're co-creators. You know what I'm saying? I am not the source. I am a product of the source. I know that. I always want to consult with source and see what source wills is for this time and this pace, this place and this space. Like, what do you have going on? Okay. Cause I know in your divineness and your infiniteness, in the intelligence that I can't even fucking name or put a finger on or articulate. I don't even have the words. I don't have the words. It's too great. I've been given a piece of this. We could do something together, but I really need to know which direction that you're going. That way I can move where you're moving. I need to know that. I don't want to be out of alignment. I don't want to be out your wheel. I know what happened when folk is not fucking with that. Yeah, all that. But I got to be still inside myself in order to be able to come to that realization. And so there are times when I will ask, can I do things? And the answer will be no. My ego don't like to be played with. It's very clear on what type of behavior is appropriate and what ain't, and what it got time for and what it don't. It will divest itself very quickly when it realizes productivity is not happening. It's concerned with some very specific things. Specific things that it needs, okay? And I have to be honest about that with myself. You concerned about what's being produced. You concerned about what comes out of stuff. If you're going to put some energy in, you care about what comes out of that. Right? You care about your return on your investment at all times. It don't matter what you invest in. You care about that. Be honest that you care about that. You care about the morals and the values of a thing, right? How a thing is going to move, the character, the nature of it. You care about these things. Don't be moving out here acting like these things are important, right? So when I take those things and I put them into perspective, then I've also got to be mindful about how I engage with things that fall out of alignment of those. Right? Because if I know that those are things that I'm going to pay attention to, and I know that those are things I care about, then I also know that if things go wrong, I also am going to want to handle it. I'm going to want to handle it. And there have been times where I've made bad decisions based on what the potential was that existed for me to accomplish something, for me to produce something. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to make decisions. In business, they'll tell you if you want a product done good and you want it done fast, you won't get it done cheap. If you want it done fast, but you don't care about the quality, you can get a better price. If you like, it's a whole consideration metric. And all I'm saying is when it comes to the decisions in our lives, we have consideration metrics as well. You know what I'm saying? I've made bad decisions because it looked like I could produce more over here, but the morals and the values of the thing wasn't right. Which then still dictated the way I participated, because then when I showed up, I ain't feel good about it. Because it matters to me what kind of spirit I do something in. You know what I'm saying? I don't never want to profit off the exploitation of the backs of somebody else. I don't never want to profit because I did something harmful to somebody else, or I took something away from somebody that I didn't have to. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've learned enough about systems to know that there's a way for everybody to be able to benefit. Usually anytime you want to do anything, it just depends on the nature of those people that you have involved. If you ain't got people that's got a good heart, it's going to be hard to move something with the intention of righteousness. If you're dealing with folk who, you know what I'm saying, I'm going to digress. But all I'm saying is you got to line those types of things up. And when you are out of alignment, you got to do what's necessary to get back in alignment so that this piece that I'm discussing about submission don't become hard. Because when we make those bad decisions in order to rectify them, a lot of times the submission that's required of us is not the shit that's easy. You know what I'm saying? I done been in the middle of a deal before where it's bands on the table for everybody, and I'm like, hey, y'all, I got concerns. And I'm okay saying stuff like that, because at the end of the day, one thing I hope everybody know about me is that I can't be bought and I can't be sold. Because it's going to come back to this conversation here. At the end of the day, I got to live and die with myself. I do. I got to sleep with me every day and night. It don't matter if anybody ever next to me. I got to be okay with the decisions that I make, and the reasons that I make them, and the commitments that I make them in, and the spirit. Because I got to be accountable for that. You know what I'm saying? Everybody don't have the same hangups. Everybody don't have the same indiscretions. Everybody doesn't look at everything the same way. And so based on who you are, your value system, your beliefs, the way you move in the world, you got to figure out how to align yourself with those things so that as you engage with your spirit, you submit to the things that are going to take you further along in that direction. You know, and this go back to the importance of tapping in to who you are, knowing who you are and where you come from, studying yourself, checking in to see, oh, am I a starseed? Who's my starseed family? What did the Akashic Records say about my beingness in this time, in this space? If I go into myself and I begin to meditate and I ask the spirit to reveal unto me myself, who's going to come forth? A lot of times we don't even know who we are because we have not sat down long enough to become acquainted, let alone get to know and become knowledgeable of. And in the same way, we got to get to know other people and get acquainted and sit down and date and figure out what they like and what they don't like, and, you know, how to cater or communicate. We got to do all those things with ourselves. And then make sure that the things that we learn about ourselves are not things that we have such a problem with that then we begin to sin against ourselves because we can't find no love in our identity because somebody else has given us so many other things that tell us something negative about that. We got to tell the truth about that. And that's the case for a lot of people. A lot of people can't even sit with themselves, don't even like themselves well enough to be by themselves, but always want to be around somebody else. If you don't like being around you, goddamn it, why you think I want to be? You got to figure that part out. Because in your being around me, there might be some things that I began to see that I can recognize and acknowledge that I might have an appreciation for of you that you ain't even got in yourself. Ooh, I had the experience. And then it becomes awkward. Because then people are uncomfortable with you and the way you mirror them. But we got to all remember that everything that's called into our experience is a mirror of us in some shape, form, or fashion. It may be a mirror of a certain part of us, but if it's been called into our experience, we've attracted it. And if we've attracted it, then that means it exists in us, because we attract what we are, not what we want. And if we want something different, we got to change ourselves. So that go back into getting to know who we are, getting to know, again, our own proclivities, desires, the things that we want, the path we on, how we align in ourselves. All that matters. All that matters, because it dictates how we engage. It dictates how we submit. It dictates whether or not we ignore and send it out another direction, or whether we take it and we actually reflect and process in ways to apply that have the ability to transform. And all I'm saying is, the more we sit with ourselves and we get to know ourselves, and we begin to understand who we are and what we've been called to be and do in this life and on this plane, and the things that are important to us, our values, beliefs, and the way we come and we present in the world, the Spirit will begin to give us things that we are not necessarily giving ourselves. And when that voice speaks to us, do we know ourselves well enough to know the difference in it and to be able to submit when it calls? Do we? Everybody want to talk about, oh, I trust God. And I always say, who is God? Then I got another group of people who are like, oh, I trust myself. And I'd be like, who are you? Do you know you? Because if you know you, you should be able to tell me about you so that I can engage you better. If you know about God, you should be able to tell me about God so that I can also be able to engage God better. And this go back to knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Belief is one thing, and our beliefs exist, and they are a product of how we engage in faith in the world, and that is very important. But I also think that knowing is more powerful than believing. We use belief to ride us into our knowledge, right? We can believe something, and then we can go and test that thing to see if it's real or if it's true. And then we'll know whether or not it is or it ain't. But it was the belief that moved us to move on the knowledge that then created action. All of this was a product of faith and will. They all connected. And so when we realize the connectivity of them and how one can lead us into another, we learn the game, man. We learn that we can usher ourselves in and out of anything. We can create anything for ourselves that we choose to, based on what it is we focus on, based on how it is we develop and we expand ourselves to be able to do this. But we led by the Spirit. That's it, man. The people who get to the point where they stop talking about an externalized God and they say I are the people who have merged enough with their spirit to be able to discern when the voice is telling them to do something, and they move in it. I do this. I move based on what I hear bubbling up from inside of me in my spirit, and I submit when it's time for me to do that. And a person who can do that, I feel like, does deserve to take full responsibility for that. Because that means whether it go good or it go bad, or whether it shine or whether it get fucked up, I'm responsible. And I will go back into myself, into my spirit, into that listening place to get back on track. It's a whole nother ball game. But if God lives inside of us, then why can't we do that? And why can't we say out loud that it's okay to do that? And why can't we also affirm out loud that us doing that is not a divorce from the source, but it's a deeper engagement as we submit? So I just wanted to say that. Hopefully it wasn't too long and it wasn't too preachy. And hopefully it wasn't too, far out there, spread out. Y'all know these are my reflections, and these are my learnings. So I hope they are as clear for you as they are for me, because I find myself energized by the things that I'm learning, by the ways that they are coming up for me. I'm also excited to see what y'all are going to think about the reflection questions for the submission, right? Because I dealt with a lot of shit today, all the way from how do you really feel about this word, all the way to how do you feel about doing this, even though you don't even know that you actually made the decision to submit to submitting. You made a commitment to get what you need, and in getting what you need, you have to listen in the process. So you can't separate one from another. Like, it's a beautiful thing that is happening. So like I said, I hope it makes as much sense for you as it made to me. I thank you for continuing to be here and to check this out. Make sure you are following me on all the respective social medias. Alternative Tribe on Facebook. Also Alternative Tribe _ on Instagram. Spiritual Plug _ on Instagram. And also your Spiritual Plug _ on Clubhouse. I'm coming with a whole lot more, y'all. This next 10 days, I'm going to be organizing myself so that I can give you everything that my spirit that I submitted to told me that I got to give you. Okay? Because this whole confessional is a product of that. Okay? That's first of all. The confessional is a product of that. But just wait to see what else is coming. So I give thanks. Thank you for being here. I'm finna get on down.